Item 10C, receive a report on the results of soil and materials testing of PG&E line 132 and provide direction to staff regarding the filling of line 132 in the Crestmore neighborhood.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council and members of the public. I'm Harry Burrows. I'm the city's project manager for the Crestmore Reconstruction Project. The item before you tonight is a report on the status of additional testing and analysis that the council requested, both in and around PG&E's line 132 prior to the final abandonment of the remainder of the pipeline, 132, as it runs through the Crestmore neighborhood. The exhibit that's up there shows the alignment for background of the PG&E's line 132 through the Crestmore neighborhood. The sections that are shown in the center of the exhibit there in orange and in red are the previous sections that have been filled to date. The sections in yellow are the sections that we're going to be talking about here tonight. For additional background, in spring of 2012, at the council's direction, we sent a questionnaire to the residents of the Crestmore neighborhood, and that questionnaire essentially posed three different questions as to how to abandon, their preference for abandonment of the pipeline. And those three choices were to leave the pipe as is in the ground empty, to remove the pipe in its entirety from the ground, or to fill the pipe with a cement slurry mixture that hardens into essentially a concrete material. The results of that questionnaire, we received back, I believe, about 70% return from the neighborhood, which was a great return. And of that, about 80% of those residents were in favor of filling the pipe with cement slurry. So prior to the final abandonment, PG&E did remove sections of pipeline, line 132, in I believe 4 different locations, and they were about 20-foot long sections of pipe. They sent those pipe sections to outside independent third-party laboratories for testing. They did testing of the pipe material itself, the metallurgy, as well as they took scrapings of the residual material that was inside of the pipe and did testing on those as well. And as a result of the testing that was performed, in August of last year, the city directed PG&E to fill those 2 center sections of pipe that were on the previous exhibit. A small portion of the 1956 portion of line 132 and the deeper section of 1948 pipe that's in the ground. And the distinction between those two is the original line 132 through this area was constructed in 1948. In 1956, when the grading for the subdivision occurred, portions of it were relocated and reconstructed, and the deep section that followed the old creek alignment was left and abandoned in the ground. Prior to filling those sections of pipeline, there was liquid that was discovered in the 1948 pipe. We had PG&E perform testing on that. The test came back negative, both on the material within the pipe as well as the pipe itself. And what we're testing for the pipe material was primarily the presence of lead, because given that era of steel, sometimes high levels of lead were present, but this came back negative. So that's why those portions were filled with cement slurry at that point in time. As a result of inquiries from both the public as well as the City Council, we received direction to proceed with some additional testing of the soils adjacent to and below the remaining sections, as well as the sections that we filled of line 132. Those tests were performed throughout the fall of last year and into the spring of this year, and analysis was done. The test results came back negative in terms of the presence of any hazardous or toxic materials in the soil. And in terms of what was tested for, It was a combination of heavy metals, included mercury and lead, presence of hydrocarbons, the presence of asbestos in the soil, any what are called volatile and non-volatile chemicals and compounds, and these are, I'm not an expert in this, but chemicals such as benzene and chromium, arsenic, PCBs, toluene, xylene, a lot of carcinogenic materials. All of those were tested for, and there was not the presence of any of them within the soils. The test results, PG&E presented the results of all the studies to the State of California DTSC, Department of Toxic and Substance Control. DTSC initially indicated that this was not within their jurisdiction for several different reasons. Primarily that they get involved when there's a spill or release of materials, or there is an active cleanup that's been ordered. None of those are present in this instance. So what DTSC said is that they reviewed the protocols and the test results, and they thought that from their standpoint they were performed adequately, but they were not in a position to issue a formal response to that. So then PG&E submitted those same test results to San Mateo County Health Department, and County Health reviewed that data and the analysis performed to date, and they recently submitted a letter to PG&E, which PG&E forwarded to us, which essentially stated that their opinion, neither the soils nor the pipeline itself contains materials that pose an unacceptable public or environmental health risk. So we feel confident that both the pipeline itself, what's inside, any residual material that's inside the pipeline, as well as the soils adjacent to the pipeline, have a clean bill of health. In addition, I think it's worth noting that, again, at the request of the City Council, based upon input from residents as well, we have undertaken some additional testing on the surface soils on the vacant lots. Even though that's not directly related to the abandonment of Line 132, I just wanted to share that information with you. We've not gotten the final report back from the consultant, but the initial reports back from the laboratory are, again, no presence of any hazardous or toxic materials on those empty lots. And that would be consistent with the tests that were done by the county immediately after the cleanup of those lots. Why we undertook those tests, that was part of the concerns that were raised last summer based upon the amount of dust that was in the neighborhood, and whether there was any residual materials within that dust. So, and we're going to be doing some ongoing testing and monitoring of the dust in the neighborhood as this next phase of construction kicks up. But getting back to Line 132, so if the council directs us to have PG&E proceed with the slurry filling of the remaining portions of Line 132, PG&E has indicated they can start that work as soon as the week of September 23rd. That work's going to take about 4 weeks total duration from beginning to end. They will have 2 staging areas. One's located up here at the north end of the project on Plymouth. They'll require a closure of that street, except for access for local residents during the time frame that they're filling there. The other filling location will happen down at the south end on Glenview. That won't require a full closure of the road. That road will remain open. The pipeline is off to one side. Notification will be provided to all of the residents in advance of this work. Additionally, as before with the filling of the center sections of pipe, PG&E's contractors will have equipment out there that will monitor the air that's coming out of the pipe, as well as filtering the air through a 3-filter system, 2 liquids and a charcoal filter before releasing that air into the environment. So any residual smells of mercaptan or natural gas should not be present when they're doing this work. All of the test results that I spoke about have been posted on the Rebuild Crestmore website to date, and we will be posting additional updates as they come in, the final reports on the surface soils, as well as any work related to the schedule of the filling. And lastly, with the previous work, The city did engage the services of a special gas pipeline inspector. The plan is to hire that same inspector to come out and oversee this work when it's occurring as well. So that concludes the status report on the filling of line 132.
Good. Any questions of Harry? Ken?
Harry, in the staff report, one of the tests was air testing regarding hydrocarbons, and it seemed like exceeding, and so you took measures in that. Can you sort of explain how that will be treated? I know you just touched on how you'd have some filtration systems, so that that's being addressed, and there should be no problem. Can you explain on that?
Yeah, so essentially what will occur is they will excavate down around the pipeline to these vents that they've installed previously on the pipe. They'll be putting a tent over those excavations, and the tent will have side panels on it as well, so that any vapors that escape from the pipe will be first held within that tent. They have air monitors that they hang in that tent. The workers actually wear essentially, masks to, clean the air that they're breathing. First thing they'll do is monitor if there's the presence of hydrocarbons. Then they'll put the mask on. They also have the filtration system like I described, which is essentially a large hose where they're pumping air out of the excavation and out of the pipe through this 3-filter system.
So they're not, we're not talking about acceptable levels or anything. We're talking about cleaning to the air so that there are no noticeable levels.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Sure.
Did I hear you right? PG&E took the samples and had them tested? Or did we hire a third party to test the soil and the air? Or did PG&E take the soil and get it tested? I hope not. I don't trust them.
Well, PG&E hired third-party independent professionals to perform the testing.
Yeah, that's not okay.
We had peer review done on the testing and the metallurgical testing that was done. And our third-party review, our peer review, is confident that the test results, the tests that were performed were per current protocol, and that the results are accurate.
I'm not okay with that. The other thing is, I know after the explosion, some of our neighbors, the soil from their property was brought to Brisbane. They wouldn't touch it. They had to move that soil down to Half Moon Bay because of toxic soil. So
well, I would just comment about that the work that was done to demolish the fire-destroyed properties was done by the County of San Mateo, and the County of San Mateo oversaw the disposal and the removal and the disposal of the materials. They have certified to us and have the expertise to do so that the remainder of those sites was fully within standards, and that the remaining soil after the demolition and was in fact safe for human occupancy. So the information that is being provided we don't have the jurisdiction or the authority to identify how that was done or whether that was done in a proper manner. We are relying on the County of San Mateo, who did that work.
right, and that brings up another item is the County of San Mateo, I think his name was Dean Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
They initially tested our air, and then he came back and said that they don't have the proper equipment to test the air quality. So it's not comfortable to me. It's not okay. So I wish somebody was looking out for us better.
I can address that. So last, I believe it was either October or November, council approved a contract with a company called Acumen Industrial Hygiene, and they are the company that one of their sub-consultants, they're a contract directly to the city, did this independent testing of the soils on the lots. Also, they're under contract to test the air for both dust as well as air quality. We have held them off starting that work until construction started again, because that's when our dust occurs, is during the construction season. So they've just initiated that. So we will be performing that air quality testing here in the next several months. The residents will see some equipment out on some of the lots. They're called snorkels, that will be gathering dust samples as well as testing the air.
Okay, so Harry, just so we get it clear, you said that PG&E hired an independent laboratory to verify certain things. It came back clear. Then we hired someone to verify what they verified.
We utilized our existing consultants, yes, to do a
Which was
peer
a
review.
separate group.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
All right, so it's, okay. No, I'm talking about the pipe,
Yeah, the soils testing.
soils testing
And the metallurgical testing.
and the metallurgical. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's ongoing as far as the rest of the things that are going to occur, because construction is taking place in phase 3.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Ken?
We have someone who's obviously speaking for the neighborhood. We have residents who are definitely looking concerned here. I'd like to know, maybe to hear from them, what more we should do, or what they feel we should do, or what they're not satisfied with. Mr. Renzi gets up there and says, I'm not happy with it. What is going to be happy? I mean, I don't want, we feel that we're trusting staff, that we're going through the proper channels and doing the proper things. You're contradicting it, or there's some contradiction to some of the findings. I don't feel comfortable going forward until everyone is satisfied with the process that we're going through. I don't want to question what we're going through, but if as a resident that's experiencing what's going on there, tell us what more do you need, or what more do you need to, as proof, assurances, that we are going in the right direction.
Betty Coons, Claremont Drive. I'm satisfied with what they've done as far as the testing. Now, maybe I'm different because I live at the end of the pipeline. It comes right in front of my house and turns and goes out to Sneath Lane. So I want the pipeline filled. I've been waiting for almost 3 years. How much longer should I wait?
Hopefully September 23rd. No, and we're really, really trying very hard. I met with Harry numerous times regarding this situation. The question came up about the older pipe. The question came up about the contents of the older pipe, and it needs to be tested. The residual, if there is any in line 132, needs to be tested. That was never addressed really in the very beginning. A lot of people didn't even know there was another pipe there from the 40s. So I think we've really gone as far as we really can from independent. We can get more labs out there, and they're probably going to verify the same thing. PG&E didn't get up there with their crew and test the pipe and say, this is okay. They hired a totally independent consultant, and we hired a totally independent consultant to check their independent consultant. So, I mean, I'm confident that we've gone the distance on this, and my feeling is let's just get this thing filled and get it behind us. So that's me. Anybody else?
Through the chair.
Michael?
I have one question. I'm curious about the comment that was made about the debris was taken to Brisbane and it was rejected from there. Do we have any information on why it was rejected? Were they speculating that it wasn't acceptable, or was there something they found specifically that was an issue?
I can tell you what I really don't like.
You're on. We need to have you speak. And my understanding was a lot of that was the initial debris from fire, ash, lead paint,
Right.
those types of things. So it had to be brought to certain types of landfills. So.
Hi, Tina Pellegrini, 1701 Claremont Drive. What we found out is when we went to take the dirt from our property to Brisbane, the list that we were given did not contain certain chemicals that were tested for that Brisbane required a very clean soil. So yes, we did have to ship it all the way to Ox Mountain, which was, you know, a lot more money, a lot more time, a lot more cost to us. So that's when, you know, they're saying now they're testing the soil and they're finding all these other little things are not in there, like arsenic and asbestos and things like that. Would have been nice if they would have done that in the beginning and we got a complete clean sheet, because then it would have saved, you know, us a good chunk of money when we were rebuilding as far as getting rid of the additional soil. So that's all I can contribute on that.
All right, thank you.
Just one more thing. It took the residents to call when they opened up the 48 pipe. The whole neighborhood smelled like gas again. So it took neighbors calling to get PG&E to come out and put the tents up and the air ventilators and everything. It's been 3 years. I'm sure we've breathed in the bad air and had the chemicals, and fill the pipe. I mean, just fill it. It's too late now. 3 years ago, we should have had we thought the county was checking the soil and the air, and then we find out they didn't have the proper equipment. Fill the pipe.
Michael?
I agree, let's fill it.
Okay. Irene?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes,
Ken?
let's fill the pipe.
All right, fill the pipe. Nope.
No, just direction.
Item